I'm Marcy Kickhafer. My learning team partner is Brian Robertson. We reviewed Window of Opportunity, Adolescence, Music, and Algebra. This particular study talked about 6 school districts throughout the state of Maryland. They studied a little over 6,000 students, and those students were grouped in 3 particular groups. They were grouped based off of what they had in their 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade years. Group A had formal instrumental instruction all 3 years. Group B had formal choral instruction all 3 years. And Group C had neither instrumental or choral all 3 of those 6th, 7th, and 8th grade years. These students had introductory algebra as either 8th graders or 9th graders. So when they went to take their test and to study their scores, all students had at least had experience with introductory algebra, so that they were all kind of on the same playing field there. So, after they took that 9th grade algebra test that the state of Maryland has, they looked at their proficient passing grades, and this is what they came up with. So overall, the test range scores, the bottom score that you could get on that test is a 240, the top score is a 650. In order to be proficient, they have to have between a 412 and a 449, and then a 450 to 650 is considered advanced. The instrumental instruction group, Group A, had a little over 90% pass their test, considered proficient or advanced, and their score range, their bottom student had a 323 as a score, and their top student or students had 650. Group B, the choral instruction group, they had a little over 81% pass that test, or were proficient or advanced. In their score range, they did have 1 or more students score at the very bottom, the 240, and then their top score was a 501. Group C, neither instrumental or choral instruction group, they had just a little over 75% pass their test, and then their score range, they had student or student score the lowest, the 240, but they did have a student or a couple of students score 533, which was a little above what the choral had. What you do notice about this is instrumental instruction has the highest percent passed, as well as had the better score range as far as their low score was well above both Group B and C. The choral instruction, they did note in the study that although choral instruction will help benefit students' achievement based off of their percent passed or proficient, they weren't always the highest scoring, as what Group C showed. They had a high score of 533. So a couple of key points. Music education and instruction should be included and encouraged in the middle school and secondary years. They also, of course, said they should have it in the elementary school years. However, with students being correlated to math scores, they definitely encouraged it in the middle school and secondary years. Music and math are both use the left hemisphere of the brain, which is why they think there is that correlation. The more you use your brain for music, the better you are at math, and vice versa. Music instruction is important and can improve achievement. However, instrumental instruction showed the greatest impact, and I mentioned that before. So overall, this study was interesting to me. I would definitely encourage students to be involved in music education. I would encourage parents or colleagues of mine to encourage their students to be involved. And overall, I would just encourage the community and the school districts to keep music education in the schools, because it is so important, not just for math. This study was based off of math, but for just overall achievement. I will encourage my children to be involved within music education also. And here's our resource. We found this article in the Journal of Adolescent Research. It was published in 2000.
Hi, my name is Brian Robertson, and my learning team partner is Marcy Kickhafer. We chose a case study that is entitled The Predictive Relationship Between Achievement and Participation in Music and Achievement in Core Grade 12 Academic Subjects. Basically, it was comparing students that were in music classes, which included band, string, choral, composition, and comparing how they did in their core subjects, math, English, and biology, to students that did not take any type of music classes. The case study took place in British Columbia, Canada, and it was a 3-year, so it covered 3 different cohorts that they used their grade 11 music, students that were in grade 11 music, and compared their grade 12 core subject scores. Overall, there was 180,000 students, so of course the whole province of British Columbia, a lot of students, a lot of numbers. The reason why they did this study was because it was thought of before, starting in the 1960s, that being in music and being a part of the arts actually impeded the growth for students in their classes. They thought if you're learning about music, it's going to stunt your growth for learning your core subjects, or it's just taking time away from learning your core subjects. And so they kind of wanted to see if that was true or not. And in fact, the results did show that it's not true. Students in music classes did have better grades and test scores because they used their grades, and they also used the provincial exam, which is just like our state standardized test, because it's across the whole province, the same test. And the biggest was in math. Students that were in band had the biggest gains versus students that weren't in band, especially in math class. But across all 3, math, biology, and English, all their scores were higher for students that were in music, and also for their provincial exams, the scores were higher than those students that were not in any music classes. The only, probably the smallest gain was students that were just in choir didn't really seem to have higher test scores in their English classes. And they also used visual arts just to check another arts type class, and visual arts showed no difference for students that were in visual arts versus students that were not in visual arts. Their core subjects, it didn't affect it one bit. As far as the critical thinking and creative expression, the case study, they had to analyze the results, identify the differences in all the different subject areas, and they had to come up with a conclusion. And of course, the main conclusion was that being a part of music, any type of music class, usually does have a positive effect on your core subjects. And this was basically a interdisciplinary approach. So it didn't have it wasn't necessarily integration into the actual math or biology or English classroom, but it was just kind of connecting the two, the music arts classes with the core subject classes. As far as what we would take from this, we would definitely encourage our students and parents to have their kids in music, any type of music, because learning that does have a positive effect, especially for both of us being math teachers. It seems to have a positive effect, and we both have seen that as well in our own classrooms, that usually the students that are involved in music do well in our classes. And here's a reference for our case study. Thank you.